B'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'natzliach. We're continuing from Rav Techtel's book, Emma Banim Smecha. And last week, we ended off the shir with how important prayer is, but how important to do actions that go along with the prayer to reflect that the prayer is really important for you. It's not just lip service, but you're actually doing some sort of pu'ula action that reflects that which you're praying for in a sense of hishtadlis towards getting the prayer answered. And so he's going to continue on that theme for a little bit, and then we're going to go into lots of other very heavy duty hashkafas, which really seriously made me so emotional today as I was reviewing it. So in relation to the that prayer alone is not enough, you have to do actions that reflect what it is that you're praying for. He brings an example of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, when he left Beersheba, when he left Eretz Yisrael to go to Haran, running away from his brother and going to get his wives. When he got to Haran, the Psukim tell us, Al Pi Midrashim, but it's very closely. If you read the Psukim closely, you see that something's funny there. What's going on? The Midrashim flesh it out. When he got to Haran, he realized, oh my gosh, I passed by where my father prayed, where my grandfather prayed, Yitzchak Avinu, Navram Avinu, and I didn't pray in that place. I have to go back. And so he goes back. Here, let me read it to you. When it says Vayifga b'makom, that Yaakov Avinu met upon this place, which ended up being Shara Shemaim, and that whole place, and he established Ma'ariv at that place, Tefillah Ma'ariv. מכאן למדו שתיקן יעקב אבינו תפילת ערבית, ותפילת ערבית היא רשות. Ma'ariv is reshut. It's not like Shachris, we have to daven. Mincha is a chiyuv, but Ma'ariv is like a reshut. שלא הייתה כוונתו להתפלל, because it wasn't the intention. How do we know that Ma'ariv is reshus? Because Yaakov Avinu didn't intend on davening Ma'ariv. He passed that place without davening. He only came back to that place, did an about turn from Haran. He got to Haran, and then on his way back, he got to Beit El, and there was Kfitzat Adar, kind of like Har Moriah, jumped to greet him, Vayifga b'makom. And then he established a prayer there, and he added his prayer to his father's prayers and his grandfather's prayer. We see that he passed by this place. Is it possible that I passed by the place where my fathers prayed at and I didn't pray there? And he returned and he prayed there. And that's why Chazal made Ma'ariv Rishus. We learned it from Yaakov Avinu. He didn't have to. He instituted it from his own will. It came from himself. And then Rav Techtel explains that the kavana of each one of our patriarchs established the prayer connected one of the Batei Mikdash. Avram Avinu established Shachris connected Bais Rishon. We're not going to go into like the limud of it now. Just like take it for granted. This is what Chazal tell us. We accept. Yitzchak Avinu established Mincha. This is connected Bais Sheni, and Yaakov Avinu. His kavana, so Avram Avinu is connected Galus Mitzrayim, connected by Rishon. Yitzchak Avinu is connected Galut Bavel by Sheni, and Yaakov Avinu, his intention was the final Geulah, after which there won't be any more Galus, and the establishment of a house for Hashem that will never be destroyed. B'zeh she'amar Yaakov. Like he wanted a geulat olam, a forever kind of redemption. And then he says, like, so now people say, but hold on, but the Psukim tell us that he davened in Beit El. Beit El is not Yerushalayim. So why are we considering it Yerushalayim? We're making it into a whole Hamoriah. But Temple Mount story. This is because it's Beit El means the house of the Lord, so it could be a reference to Yerushalayim. It's the house of Hashem, Beit Hashem. But כמו שהם התפללו על בניין ירושלים בבית המקדש והתקבלה תפילתם בבית ראשון, בית שני, רצו להתפלל על בניין ירושלים בית המקדש העתיד, ולזה הייתה תפילתו זאת קרובה לביאת השמש, and his tefillah was close to, the setting of the sun, which is a reference to Galus, going into a period of darkness, and he's davening for us to come out of this period of darkness. But then he makes a point that if this whole kfitzat derech, like Yaakov Avinu left Haran coming back to Eretz Yisrael, and it's that hishtadlus that caused the kfitzat derech, the Yerushalayim, the Har HaBayit, so to speak, to meet him, to greet him on the way as he's coming to it, like a meeting of the ways. He came upon that place. So Chazal asked, so Rav Tachtel is asking, if Mina Shamayim they accepted that Yaakov Avinu should establish this prayer to deal with the galus, that there should not be any more galus, and he's davening for the final gula and the bayis shlishi that will never be destroyed. So why this whole story? As he crossed it, as he passed it the first time on his way out to Haran, why didn't that get revealed to him then? Mina Shamayim v'ifgama makom. Why wasn't there a, hello, you just passed me, come daven? Why did they wait for Yaakov to go to Haran and then come back, and then Haramiyah is leaping out towards him? This is the place, you can daven, you have rishus. And the way Rav Tachtel explains it is because it's exactly what we've been learning last week and how we began the shir. Tefillah alone doesn't work unless we do some hishtadlis to prove that we mean what we're praying for. So until Yaakov Avinu took his necessary steps to say, I want to daven in the place of my avos, I want to go to this place of Yitzchak Avinu and Avram Avinu, I want to connect everything good and daven for the Geula, and I'm going to prove it by, I'm already close to my destination in Haran, but I don't care. I'm going to do an about face and go back to Eretz Yisrael and do my prayers from there. And that's the schus that then Hashem showed him. You came to greet me, I'm going to greet you. Shuvu elai v'shuva elechem. Right? So then Rav Tachtel says, and this is exactly what's required of us. All of this story with Yaakov Avinu is a hint, is a remez, is an allusion to our generation. It's not enough for our desire to return to Eretz Avot, and that we should wait for an awakening from above. Okay, guys, time to leave Canada, America, Australia, England, whatever it is. Everything that he's been quoting is Shamayim doesn't only want your desires, it wants your actions. And we're saying, when Hashem gives me the sign, I'll go. But the sign has to come from a pnimi place within you. You have to hear the kol dodi dofek within you. The kol dodi dofek, Hashem is always knocking on our door, asking us to come in. You have to, I heard a wonderful, like I'm part of a group of volunteers at these times, and Rav Shmuel Eliyahu was invited to speak to us in a Zoom meeting, and he said something very beautiful, that we daven for a leiv basar, we daven for a heart of flesh. He says in Israel you can come in touch with having a heart of flesh, but in Chutz La'aretz we needed a lev even, we needed a heart as hard as a rock, not to break to survive everything that we went through. There's a place for a Lev Evan. But then there's a time when we come back to Eretz Yisrael that we say, no more Lev Evan, and we want to feel every bit of ruchnius that Hashem wants to give me. And so we want very much to have a fleshy heart, Lev Basar, to become Breslovers. A Lev Basar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't it also that like we really want to feel the pain of it's like, when does it open our heart? When we feel the pain of like, I don't know, that's when it really gets me. When I feel the pain of everyone, it's like my own pain.
Absolutely.
It's
It's meant to, the Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva that if you hear of something awful happening in the world, doesn't matter when, for sure what's going on now, but like even not to this magnitude, to this extent, and you don't, it doesn't affect you, and you're not moved to pray for the people. This is midat achzariyut. This is a very cruel midat
like
to have.
midat Sodom. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to like, feel the ruchnius within us to desire everything that Hashem wants to give us and feel the pain of not being there anymore. Understand what galus is. Understand the chisaron of not having Malchus Hashem revealed in this world. Understanding that in our Har HaBayit is a mosque that's bloodthirsty for Jewish blood. This should kill us. Well, not literally kill us. Please don't kill us. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this should cause us to daven for Mashiach and Beis Hamikdash like no other thing, just for that alone. Who has it in their hand now? Har HaBayit. Bloodthirsty murders. Like no tzelem Elokim to them. Lost completely their humanity. And what do we represent? And who should be there? So of course there's a Temple Institute and there's all kinds of movements to go back to Har HaBayit. And they're really seriously like they're doing something. They're not just davening, they're not just da 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 da. And I say it 3 times a day, and I mention it also in benching, but then I don't do anything about it. So he says here that we have to take note of this. And to do something before to bring us to Eretz Yisrael. We have to be like Yaakov Avinu. And he says, in Shemaim, they're waiting for our steps. They're waiting for us. Then he says like this. Okay, the whole question, mi shavel mi kodem. Shuva elai or shuva elechem? Shuvu banim shuvavim or shuva ad Hashem? Shuva ad Hashem. Who's supposed to return to who first? Hashem says you go first. Am Yisrael says you go first. So then there's a compromise. There's a midrash Tehillim Shochar Tov on Pasuk Lamnatzech Livnei Korach Mizmor Atzita Hashem Artzecha. To the conductor of the sons of Korach, Mizmor, Ratzita Hashem Artzecha. Hashem, you have desired your land. It's chapter 85 of Tehillim. And Bnei Korach and that Tehillim say, Hashem, how long are you going to say Shuvu Banim Shuvavim? Return to me, oh, you mischievous sons of, my children. And then we say in Tehillim Tzadi, in Tehillim 90, Shuvatat Chila, you return to us first. So how is this like ever going to resolve? And it's explained over there in the Shochar Tov, in the Midrash Tehillim. That we're supposed to go first. Both of us are supposed to go first. The problem with waiting for Hashem to go first, it's like from this Mizmor, the Midrash says, there seems to be a kamayim panim al panim, from the wording of the Psukim in Tehillim. As soon as Hashem will return to us, there's going to be a mayim panim panim that we're going to want to return to Him. Or as soon as we make the first step, then Hashem will reflect that back to us right away. The problem with it, Rabbi Tachto says, is because of our coarseness and we're not always feeling this we're not completely sensitive to ruchnias and we don't always hear the call of Hashem. If Hashem starts, we're not going to necessarily pick up on that, and we won't know to match his gestures towards us. So we have to start first, because as soon as we're going to start with the tshuva of returning to Hashem, Hashem will certainly understand that we're ready for it, and he's going to reflect it back to us immediately. So both happen simultaneously. But who's supposed to go first? We, because we can't mechaven. We don't know how to direct the exact moment to match up with Hashem's tshuva for us. But know that as soon as a person has it in his heart, I want to return to Hashem, there's already a facing of Hashem towards that person. And if we're talking about the geula of all of Am Yisrael, like we learned last week also, it's not enough for pockets of Jews to daven for this, because it is going to affect all of the Jewish people. So Rov, the majority of Jewish people, have to be involved and engaged with this yearning for Mashiach, for geula. And so the tshuva has to come like that also. So we start, and Hashem will reflect it back to us. And then he says something unbelievable. Ve'ayen ahavat Yonatan, a sefer called Ahavat Yonatan. I never saw it before, but he's quoting here on Torah of Balak. Shekatav deze gufa shanu chozrim le'Eretz Yisrael, ze gufa litshuva techashev. That just returning to the land of Israel is considered tshuva. V'ze ikar tshuva. So based on what we learned last week, Eretz Yisrael is tshuva because this is the place where Hashem's malchus will be revealed. This is the place of malchus based daven. This is the place of the Beis Hamikdash and so many mitzvot. It's here. So all you have to say is Eretz Yisrael, and you have the whole system encapsulated within that concept of Eretz Yisrael, all of it, of what we're supposed to accomplish. And he says Ikel Tshuva, but then he says something more. וכל לשונו שם, כאשר יעברו אליהם כמה וכמה צרות, ואפילו הכי לא יעזבו את השם, ואת נחלתם ואת הקדושה תיבנה ותיכונן, וזהו במהרה בימינו, וזה יהיה עיקר תשובתם, כי התשובה צריך להיות באותו מקום ובאותו מעשה. Just returning to Eretz Yisrael is considered tshuva, because when we were on the land, we didn't appreciate the land. That's why we got sent into Galus to begin with. And so the tikkun for every avera is through the same thing that we were mekalkel, that we brought and got into kilkul from. Vikach chatam bizman habayit, the main sin that was there in the time of Bayis Rishon, haya yiridatam leMitzrayim, that we hear of Jews going down to Mitzrayim, as we read in Yeshayahu, Hevei hayordim Mitzrayim. There were already Yordim from Eretz Yisrael in the time of Bayis Rishon. What? You have Yerushalayim? You have Malchus Beis David? You have a Beis Hamikdash? And you're preferring Mitzrayim? What? Where did you get that idea from? Okay. Here we go. Then Hashem puts us through a whole school. I'll tell you, want Galus? I'll teach you Galus. You'll go to Galus. You'll have a first-hand understanding of what Galus is. And from that, Yerida, from Eretz Yisrael, many sins came from that. And that's why the tshuva in the future, that they will not forsake their nachala. There will be people that will be willing to die to get back here. And who? Not even religious Jews, he says. And now, in our time, that in our hearts, he's talking about Holocaust, but he's talking about in the 20s and 30s, like, the turn of the century, the previous century, with all of the aliyot, that the hearts of the Jews are awakened, even of the ones of the Goyim, even of non-Shomer Shabbos, no mitzvahs. They are assimilated the Jews for all intents and purposes, but they had this juke in their head. It's an expression, a juke in the head, a cockroach in their head. They had this like juke in their head that I want to go to Israel. Everyone is raising the flag of nationalism. I want to raise my flag of national. What is it? To be a Jew in Eretz Yisrael. Jew? You mean you want to keep Torah, mitzvahs, Shabbos, kosher? No, no, that's that. No, we don't. We're leaving that. That's passé. That has nothing to do with us now. We're an enlightened people. So where do you want to go to Israel? Because it's our land. And you're willing to die for it? Absolutely. Go figure. And this is like Rav Teichel is saying, even hagruim, lashuv lenachatenu, musrim nafshem, and they're willing to die for it. Ve'inam rotzim be'eretz, and they do not want another land. Lo rotzim be'eretz acheret. Uganda was offered them. Bevadai l'tshuva yechashem b'nei Hashem. And this is not going to be considered tshuva in the eyes of Hashem. So here Rav Teichel is moving away from the ultra-Orthodox, anti-Zionist position that we don't partner up with Mechal Shabbos people that are bringing treif into the land of Israel. We want nothing to do with the Zionist enterprise. And Rav Teichel did a hold about face. He did a very big tshuva for this. He was a Munkach chassid. And he says, this is considered tshuva. What else? How else are you going to explain that secular Jews are willing to build the land, sacrifice their land for no other place other than the rights of the Jews to come back home? And that they're not mekayim the mitzvahs of the Torah. It's because they were not raised to understand it. It was already a generation after the Enlightenment period and the Haskalah movement and the Bolshevik Revolution and all of these ideologies that were going around in the 1920s, 30s, that the Jews got swept up in it. Right? We even have a sample. I love Fiddler on the Roof, like he really gives like a sample of each type of like an approach of what it was like, the choices that faced the Jews in the 1920s in the Pale Settlement in Eastern, Pale Settlement of Russia and Ukraine. And one of the daughters, married one of these some less enlightened, Okay, anyway, I actually, when I was teaching Jewish history in Montreal to my grade 10, I think it was grade 10, so many of them didn't see Fiddler on the Roof. Like, how did you live your life and not see Fiddler on the Roof when you're 16 already? So every so often I would just show them until we finished the movie because it related to the history of teaching. Anyway, okay, that was a commercial break. I'm coming back. Why don't they do mitzvahs? Because they weren't raised and educated in this way. And they are considered tinok shenishba, like a Jewish child that was taken into captivity, and he was not taught by Goyim, and he was not taught Torah and mitzvahs. Can you fault him for not keeping Torah and mitzvahs? No, it's not his fault. And so even Jews living in Jewish environments by their parents, but if they're not given proper chinuch, they're a tinok shenishba. What do you want from them? But then he says, even he's quoting now the Rambam, Guf Aliyah, the body of Aliyah, the whole concept of making Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, Vadai L'Tshuva Yechashev, this is a Rambam. It's considered tshuva. Umekaymin b'zeh mitzvah taseh de tshuva v'zeh ikar tshuva. And you're mekayim the mitzvah of tshuva, because tshuva means to return. And so when we return to Eretz Yisrael, it's tshuva. But it's not just because it's a cute play on words, because in Eretz Yisrael is the key to our relationship with Hashem. As long as we're chutzlars, we're keeping things in practice. It's ki'ilu. The Ramban says this, Ramban Nachmanides. The mitzvot and chutzlars, it's not like a chiyuv, it's a ki'ilu. We're just keeping in practice for the real time when we're actually going to be in the land of Israel and do the mitzvahs. And then I'm going to skip this paragraph and just going to give you in short the Hashkafa. There's a whole like discussion in Shammai between Michael, Malach Michael, who's like the guardian angel of the Jewish people. And he asked Hashem, no, like the Jewish people didn't suffer enough for you to send Mashiach. And he says, okay, let's bring the Satan, Malach Samech Mem, and you can have this discussion with him. He says, okay, so what's with Mashiach? He says, so the Samech Mem answers, well, we're waiting for the Jewish people to do tshuva. Isn't that the cheshbon? There's going to be galus and saras for the Jews until they do tshuva. And so Michael says, so the Samech Mem said, and now they're Rishaim. Amar le HaKadosh Baruch Hu Michael, haya lecha lirot chilat hapasuk. But really, Michael, you should have answered him. You shouldn't have let him get away with that, because the pasuk that says we're waiting for the Jewish people to do tshuva. The beginning of it, v'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha, and you should return until Hashem your God. V'achar kach, and right after in that pasuk it says, the next pasuk, it's in Devarim, ki kel rachum, because Hashem is a compassionate God. Amar le Michael, mare de alma, Master of the world, is it for nothing that you are called Kel Rachum, a compassionate God, that you should have compassion even when we're not deserving of it? I already promised that I will not redeem them until they come back to me, even as an opening of a needle. And then I'm not going to read it fully, but what comes from this discussion is that Hashem says all you need to do is not a great big tshuva. You just have to start somewhere. So these chalutzim that came to build the land with no mitzvahs, no kippah, no tzitzis, no nothing, treif, bringing pigs into kibbutzim on Yom Kippur, but they're sacrificing the life for Eretz Yisrael. This is not just a small kuchudosh al machat, but it's a tshuva. And Hashem is waiting for us just to start. And it's just so heartwarming to see all of the p'titchei kuchudosh al machat that we see in Am Yisrael now, with people asking for tzitzit and asking to keep Shabbos, etc., and all that tzedakah that's pouring out from all over the place. What this last bit saying is, don't think that Geula is dependent on us becoming tzaddikim gmurim. What's asked of us is not to become complete tzaddikim, like we have to get to be the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva's, and Avram Avinu's. We just have to start, and then Hashem will open it wider for us. And then he continues by saying, and by the way, that's about the Jews that are in Eretz Yisrael. But Kevan Shem osim mitzvah bazeh v'maasehem retzuya kamei because these Jews in Israel building the land, and referring to the secular Jews building the land, because they are on the ground sacrificing their life to allow Jews to come and live in the right, for the right to live, then it's a chiyuv, mechuyav, we are obligated, those who are not in Israel, to do anything in our power to assist them to continue the mitzvah that they're doing. Send money, send resources, send the weapons that they can handle all the Arab riots that they should have, what to fight with, whatever it is, whatever it takes. Participate in the mitzvah somehow, even as we are in Chutz La'aretz, l'ishtatef imahem, bepeula, something in a tangible way. Don't just daven for peace. Do something that will be the kechudosh shel machat, like opening of an eye needle, to say, Hashem, I'm not just praying for it, but I'm actively engaging myself with my resources, to be able to allow the tefillah to be accepted and heard. V'shomer mitzvah lo yeda davara, it says, and the people who do a mitzvah, harm doesn't befall them. V'lo yitzmach al yedei zeh shum ra, but adrabah, it will yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei rabba al yedei zeh. The name of Hashem will be aggrandized in the world. And it's a process, as we know. So he's saying this in the time of the Holocaust, and we see it, bechush, like we're like whether you read Rav Techtel or not, the truth of what he's saying here is just we see Am Yisrael is just doing it just from this tragedy that happened. The emes of Torah, of the everything that he's teaching us, is just coming, pouring from out of us, because the shevach of our neshama is Torah, from the same place of Torah. So matchilim. So what's expected of us, what we learned from Yaakov Avinu, and what we learned from Bnei Korach, that everything is dependent. That we have to somehow actively start something from us. Who goes first? Who's on first? We are first. But not just tefillah, but also actions. You all had the Abbott and Costello skit in your head? It went down in my head. That's why I said it the way it is. Okay. And only after we do our action can we hope for siyata dishmaya. We don't wait for the siyata dishmaya until we give up our resources. I'll give up my resources when I feel a hint of Shemaim that this is actually going to be good. Otherwise, I'm going to save my money in my bank. No, you do your action. You invest of yourself, whatever you can, and then the siyata dishmaya will come. Now he's quoting the Zohar Kadosh. We saw this also. So he's just bringing examples. We saw this in the Bais Rishon when Shlomo Melech built the Beit Hamikdash. The doors flew open. Only like the siyata dishmaya of so many things happen after the action, human action, was put into place. He brings an example of Bais Rishon, and then he brings also something that we spoke about like last year when we started this course. That Mashiach, one of the names for Mashiach is Tzemach. We gave many examples back then, but he was bringing a different explanation why Tzemach. Why is Mashiach called Tzemach? Because no plant, Tzemach is a plant, no plant grows without first tilling the land or making room in the land to plant the seed and watering it. Action is required for tzmicha. Mashiach is going to appear because of the effort that we're putting on the ground to make that happen, to make that flourish. Mashiach is not just going to come out of blue. He's going to come as a result of the steps that we're going to take to prove that we really want Geula. And that's how Geula works. We start and Hashem will finish. How much time do we have? Wow. Hoo-ha. It's only 10:37. Okay. So now he's going to go to, now it's chapter, we're in chapter 2, but now we're in section 9 of chapter 2, and he's going to bring in like a whole other, like a little bit of a different idea. Something that he picked, we started last week. Remember, he quotes from Hosea, why hasn't the Geula come? Because we're not asking for Malchus Hashem. We're not davening for Malchus Beis David. We're not davening for Malchus Shemaim, like for real, from our heart, like really feeling like Hashem, the world really needs you to reveal yourself. You are so real. You are so true. You are the answer to everything. You are the healing of all of us. Please, we want Malchus Shemaim to rule. Look at all these crazy people in this world, in powers of position and in positions of power, destroying your world and destroying and bringing horribleness and devastation to humanity. So we need Malchus Shemaim. We need Malchus Beis David because he's the guiding teacher of how to do it right. And what was the other thing? And we need the Beis Hamikdash because that's a source of prosperity and blessings to the whole world. And for all of that to happen, we need to Eretz Yisrael. We need to be in Eretz Yisrael. So now he's going to pick up on that thing, and he's going to say, now, in his time, there was an awakening to come back to Eretz Avot. And there's an awakening to come to Israel, and we see it in action. People are actually coming, not en masse, but enough to be able to have a Jewish presence back on the land. And they're building the land. They're doing the maaseh. And for sure, we are Mekayim the words of Hosea, ואחרי ישבו בני ישראל וביקשו את השם אלוקיהם, ודוד מלכה, מלכות שמיים, מלכות בית דוד, בית המקדש. היינו, ביקשו, but then he says like something else. משמעות תיבת ביקשו, בפועל ומעשה ידיהם, ביקשו את השם. So they did the before of coming back to Eretz Yisrael, but what's missing from the pasuk? But are they asking for Malchus Shamayim? Are they asking for Malchus Beis David? אין זכר להם לבקש את מלכות שמיים ואת דוד המלך, וגם התנהגותם הורה זה. So these people who were the privileged ones, to be Moser Nefesh, to build the land, for us to enjoy everything that we have now, it's on their foundation that we're enjoying everything that we have now living in Israel. So they were Mekayim before to come and build the land. But they did not know to daven, to want, to do actions towards bringing about the neshama into the guf that they were building. They didn't know about it. It was not their education. So we need the whole picture. It's not just enough to come back to Eretz Yisrael, but it has to be a neshama dika coming back also. על זה אשיב לך על פי מה שמבואר במדרש שיר השירים. אל תראוני שאני שחרחורת שזפתני השמש. So about this he says, because in his time, if you're part of like the Hasidic world, anti-Tzioni world from the Haredi, not Reform Jews, those are a different anti-Tzioni type, but from the ultra-religious that you think you should know better because you're davening for it every day, you're mouthing words of going back to Eretz. They would say Tziyoni and they would spit because they weren't Shomer Torah mitzvahs. So he's addressing this approach. He's saying, you know what they're like? It's exactly the pasuk from Shir Hashim that says, "Don't look at me that I am black, because I'm just black from the sun." In other words, it's chitzoni. Al teruni shani shachachorot sheshazavdani hashemesh. אמרה כנסת ישראל הנביאים, אל תראוני בשחרחרותי ולהגיד דלתורי על ישראל, שזפתני, and why what's the sun that blackened me? I was in Galus. I was raised amongst nations of the world, of other nations far from Torah. And this blackness is not internal to who I am. אלא רק שזפתני השמש היינו אומות, that I'm like tanned from the sun, black like from the sun. But in this case, the sun is like the umot. It had their effect on me. I'm assimilated. This is the schools I went to, this environment I went to. You gave me a Yetzer Hara. I'm not going to want to do what the goyim around me are doing. I grew amongst the nations, and my chitzoni aspect of myself, kata, absorbed all of the different types. It's interesting. Rav Uri Sharkey from Machon Meir, I heard a very short clip. I've been trying to find it. Well, maybe I didn't try hard enough because I didn't find it. But he says in Chutz La'aretz, we were Jews. We were Jews in Romania, Jews in Poland, but Jews here, Jews there, Jews all over the place. Yemen, but as soon as we come to Israel, we're no longer Jews. What did he mean? In Israel, we're Romanian, we're Moroccan, we're Yemenites. And it seems like we're holding on to that which we got from the Goyim, which is a chitzoni cultural thing to us. But it's not the Pnimi. The Pnimi were Jews. אבל בפנימיותי אני לבנה ונקייה. And the Pnimius, every single Jew, no matter where they find themselves so far away from Torah mitzvahs, is לבן ונקי, white and pure. היינו שאין חידוש באלפי השנים שנגדרתי. In other words, there's no difference, there's no difference that happened in my Pnimius through the thousands of years that I was amongst the Goyim, that I learned from their outward behaviors. והתערבו בגויים ולמדו ממעשיהם. Yeah, I learned behaviors from them, actions. אבל הנפש הישראלי, זרע אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הם הטהורים בפנימיותם ומשתוקקים לחזור למקורם. But the nefesh היהודי, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are pure in their pnimius and yearn very much to return to their source. רק אינם יודעים הדרך לשוב אל הטהרה, but they do not know how to return to the path of purity. מפני שהרגילו בגידול הגויים, because they grew up amongst the goyim. ואינו דומה לעת שהיו בארצם. And he says, not only that, modern day secular Jews, you can't even compare their guilt, the guilt of secular Jews today, to the guilt of the Jews that lived in the time of Beis Hamikdash and turned their backs on it. That generation was much worse because they had it all. They had the Nevi'im, they had the Beis Hamikdash. And their taiva for Avodah Zarah and to be like the Goyim, they couldn't, they just gave in to that. ואינו דומה לעת שהיו בארצן וראו וידעו את דרכי התורה על ידי הסנהדרין, יושבי כיסאות למשפט. They were in the presence of Sanhedrin. וירא ומעשו בהם. And they forsook them. They didn't say, we don't want them. We don't want the Torah of Hashem. ולא שמעו לכל הנביאים. And they didn't hear the call of the prophet. על כן התחייבו ללך בגלות. And that's why they were obligated. They were the sentence upon them. The guilt sentence upon them was to go out of God, to go into Galus. But this generation of Galuyot, after thousands of years of Galus, that we were mixed in with the Goyim, and they were born amongst the Goyim, and they never heard and never saw the Chazon, the Nevuas of Hashem, B'kvod Hashem. Ein re'aya mima she'ein olchim b'derech haTorah. There is no, you can't surmise anything from them not doing Torah and mitzvahs. It's just that they got black and a chitzon way because they lived amongst the goyim and nobody taught them any better. They are tinoch shenishba. And he says, and look how precious their Jewish neshama is, that they are willing to be moser nefesh for Eretz Yisrael against all logic. Why? Go to Uganda. Go to America. And they're like anusim. They have no. They're not. There's no guilt that you can ascribe to those Jews, those first chalutzim. And you can't compare them to the sinners of the Beit Rishon. And it's enough that they love Eretz Yisrael. And they want to come back to Eretz Avot, and they're moster nefesh for it. Like we saw, there's so many riots, the Arab riots after the Balfour Declaration, 1917. All of a sudden, all the riots that Arabs said, they weren't even at like 1 million Arabs in the land of Israel at that time. Do you know that? Not even 1 million at that time. Most of the land was not inhabited. וכמה מבני ישראל עמדו לנגדם ומתו, and despite all the Arab rioting of that time in the 1920s, he's referring to, and they were willing to fight the Arabs and die for it, and he says, he's quoting here what I learned as a kid going to Jewish day school and learning Jewish history, Yosef Trumpeldor, and they're dying with this on their lips. They're not even religious. They say, Tov lamut ba'ad artzenu. Is anyone here familiar with that? It's good to die for the sake of our land. Tov lamut ba'ad artzenu. They're fighting, and they're dropping, and their friends are dying around them, and they're saying Tov lamut ba'ad artzeinu. Who? Not religious Jews. So-called not religious Jews. But in their neshama, they understand that this is our home, and this is the only place that is meant to be lived. Then he's bringing in Chassam Sofer. He brings the Gemara Sanhedrin. He's quoting, שישראל, this is now for a time, שישראל שנהרג על ידי יקום, אפילו היה רשע וגרוע נקרא קדוש. It's a Sanhedrin. And the Zohar is also full of these references. That a Jew that dies in the hands of a goy because he's Jewish, even if that Jew was a rasha, he's considered a kadosh. It's a schus. He goes to the highest place in heaven. This is, if you want to see it, it's Sanhedrin 47a. V'kol sheken elu she'eru nafsham lamut ba'ad artzeinu. And all the more so, can we say this about the kedoshim that gave up their life for the sake of the land? Hachiyesh safek, I want to tell you, all of the Yishuvim around Gaza, they're moser nefesh just to live there. So religious, not religious, whatever party was going on there, it's irrelevant. The fact that they were willing to live so as a buffer zone between Gaza and the rest of the Yishuvim, of the cities in the south, in Israel, this makes them kadosh. And that they died because they lived there, because they're Jews. Is there any doubt that they are bnei olam haba? והחילו עדות ברורה הוא, דאף על גב דאי הוא לא חזה, אבל נפשו נפש הישראלי בקרבו חזה? It's a Chazal that says, isn't this 100% clear proof of what Chazal teach us, that even if they don't understand, their neshama understands? There's something in their neshama is bringing them to that place, to live in that area, to die, to be willing to die on the land for the sake of the land against our enemies. There's something in their pnimius that's yearning very much to return to its source. And the way it's showing up in those early chalutzim, and now the kedushim that are living around Otef Aza, why would anybody in their right mind want to live there? It's a hellhole. This is only because they have a nefesh, a very healthy Jewish soul that's yearning to come back to its source. I'm going to do one more paragraph, and then we're going to stop. What do I have here? Okay, so here he's quoting from Ketubos. Kol hadar be'eretz Yisrael domeh sheyesh lo Elokah. Everyone who lives in the land of Israel, it's as if he has a God. What if he's not religious? Doesn't matter. If you live in Israel, you're connected to a ruchnius, whether you're aware of it or you're not aware of it, even if the person is aware of it or not aware of it. You're living in with the presence of Hashem. Because the nefesh inside of him, the fact that they're willing to live on the land, they're not choosing any other place to live that's going to be more comfortable for them, America, let's say. It means that in their soul, they understand the need to be here. So the pasuk from Moshe is Yavakshu et Shem Elokeichem. It's not enough to be on the land. We have to be on the land for sure. But then once we're on the land, it's not the end of the story. We have to then infuse the land with ruchnias. Before, we have to be magalet in the neshamas of these, in the bodies of these builders of the land of Israel. You still have to actualize fully the Jewish expression of the neshama through Torah and mitzvahs. So they have to also return to Hashem. And they have to want Melech HaMashiach. And one will bring the other to build the Beis HaMikdash. But it begins with being in the land, to return to the land. the Al-Sheikh HaKadosh about this, he says, וגם כבר כתב האלשיך והר"ן בדרשותיו, שבצירוף כל כלל ישראל זה עושה מצווה זאת וזה מצווה אחרת, נתכללו כולם יחד בכל המצוות. So if everyone has to do Torah mitzvahs, but how can one person do all of the 613 mitzvahs? Is this what's required of us? Because that seems like an impossible mission. So he says, no. The way it works is we're all like one unit. So there's Kohanim, Levim, Yisrael. There's men and there's women. There's pre-bar mitzvah, there's post-bar mitzvah, there's Jews living in the land of Israel, there's Jews living outside of the land of Israel. And in all kinds of situations. So everyone has their, in terms of their obligations, in terms of what the Torah has required them to do in terms of their mitzvahs. So if everyone will do the mitzvahs that is upon them to do, given where they are in their life, whether you're your wife, a husband, a child, a person in the community, an owner of a business or an employee of a business, there's all the mitzvot govern all of these relationships. If everyone does what is upon them to do, then all of the mitzvot together combine to complete the whole entire 613 of mitzvahs. It's actually 620 because the rabbis added 7 of their own. So we need the klalut, the achdus is very important, the achdus, the coming together, of caring for each other, and everyone doing their part is also part of the unfolding of the Geulah, because we're bringing about the Torah and mitzvah. So some people have their mitzvah is tzedakah. Another person is not with money, but with their car. They drive and do favors all day long with their car for people. Everyone has their pet, their preferred way of doing chesed, right? And you take it all together. You know, someone is really medactic on their tzitzis. Another Jew is medactic on, I don't know what, netilat yadayim in the morning, that they should keep the water next to the bed, and chas v'shalom, their foot should touch the ground before they do netilat yadayim. And everyone has their favorite mitzvah, and together everyone comes together as a collective, and it's something awesome that rises up to Shamayim when we appreciate what each one's flavor is. שבצירוף כל כלל ישראל זה עושה מצווה זאת וזה מצווה אחרת, נתכללו כולם יחד בכל המצוות. Then everyone is, if my heart is connected to your heart, if my heart is connected to every Jewish person's heart, and you're doing that mitzvah, and I'm doing this mitzvah, so because my heart is connected to you, I'm also connected to the mitzvah that you're doing. So it's as if I did the mitzvah also. And this is how we complete each other. I love that idea so much. And so if everybody, he finishes this paragraph, if everybody will be mishtoket, will yearn to return to Eretz Yisrael, then Hashem will send the siyata dishmaya to help it happen. Yearn and do things before. Before can mean living on the land and doing what we can on the land. And if you're still in Chutz La'aretz, then assist the Jews that are doing on the land, because that's also a connection. To maintain Jewish presence in the land in a healthy way, and Bezrat Hashem, Naseh v'Netzliach, we'll see the coming of Mashiach, we'll see Malchus Hashem, we'll see the building of the Beis Hamikdash, we'll have the troops on the ground in Gaza finish the job with not one of them, Chas v'Shalom, coming to any harm. Everyone should come home safely. B'simcha l'chaim u'shalom. All the wounded should be healed. All the captives should come out. L'simcha l'shalom l'chaim tovim should be embraced by the families that are so desperate to hold their loved ones in their hands, coming out of captivity. We should see the Geulah Shleima Mamash. We have to keep on keeping on and not fall into forgetfulness. Chas v'shalom, not even for 1 second. And now it's hard to, so now it's not hard to fall into forgetfulness, but when it's all going to be over, it's going to be over, and we're going to be victorious, because we're going to be victorious. Not even a question, right? Do not say, okay, now I can relax. There's no relaxing from this point. There's no relaxing from loving every person and sharing our resources and giving as much money as we can for knowing a Jew needs something. I'm not going to make any other calculation in cheshbon other than "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ze klal gadol b'Torah." And I do that action, Hashem will take care of me. I'm not going to be bichisaron. Let's please, please, please daven that we shouldn't fall into forgetfulness, because we are for certainly going to. Let me see who's here now. I'm going to go into gallery view. Okay. Oh, such a nice gathering. I didn't see everybody there. Okay. Thank you very much. I will share the links. Leah, are you on my where is she? There you are. Leah, are you on my email list? Do you get emails from me? You do. Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to share the links for Wednesdays. I'm only actually officially charging for one class. That's the Sunday night class. Everything else, whatever. Hashem Yazor, Siyata Dishmaya. If you can donate, that'll be nice. If you have a better place to donate because someone else is needing it, that's also good. Whatever it is. But if you think about us, that's also good. Bezat Hashem, I'm not worried. Thank you so much. Kol Tuv. See you Wednesday, unless I'll see you before then because I'm going to decide that